Welcome in everybody to Betting Pros. It's time to place your bets. It is me, Joe Pisapia, and this is BP NFL. It's time to look ahead to week 12 in the NFL, talk about the deeper stats that are going to make an impact in your betting life. Also, a look at the futures market because the MVP odds are shifting all around after some big wins by certain teams in the AFC. We're going to get to that, and also some of the lines that might move as the week unfolds with some changes at quarterback yet again. Oh my goodness, New York football, it's a tough time to be a fan. Also, here with us, Sam Hoppen. It's never a tough time to be a fan of his, our data analyst here over at Betting Pros. It's always great to talk to Sam to get the breakdown on all these things. So we're going to jump in with 2 feet. Before we do, just a quick reminder, free stuff. Signed Mike Evans autographed helmet. That's right, the one from Mike Evans himself from our good pals over at pristineauction.com. It is available for you in our contest. We're giving it away. To get into it, all you got to do is head over to bettingpros.com/contest, complete the form, and either download the Betting Pros app, leave a review of the Betting Pros podcast, or subscribe to our social media channels at Betting Pros on X and TikTok, and Betting Pros NFL on the Instagram. The more actions you complete, the more entries you receive, and we'll be announcing the winner right here on the channel, so make sure you turn all those notifications on so you can be alerted. So subscribe to the Betting Pros channel, and hopefully you can claim your prize of the Mike Evans autographed helmet. Thank you, Pristine Auction, and thank all of you for hanging out with us on the podcast side, on the YouTube side, hanging out. Sam Hoppen, it looks like we're going right from one big game in the division of the AFC North to another one for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, it's a Thursday night game, perhaps a bit of a letdown in some people's minds. You have that big giant win for the Steelers, beating at home the Baltimore Ravens. They get to stay at home here. And you have an opportunity now where we're looking ahead, and the Cleveland Browns are a team that seemed like, well, they're in a bit of disarray. I mean, that's certainly where we're going. We thought maybe with Deshaun Watson, things would go better. Correction. We're in Cleveland for this one. So when we're talking about short distance traveling here, not as big of a deal, right? It's not like the Pittsburgh Steelers are picking up and going to LA or something like that. They are now 8-2. The Browns are 2-8. The number for this game is Pittsburgh -3.5. You might think it would be greater considering the way these teams have been playing in the last month. What's your take on this game here as we look ahead to what might impact it on Thursday?
Yeah, so this opened at Browns 4.5-point underdogs. Like you mentioned, current line is Browns is 3.5-point underdogs. The bigger shift has been in the total. It opened at 40. It has gone all the way down to 35.5, 36.5, 36, depending on where you're looking. And I think a lot of that is due to some potential weather concerns in Cleveland. That stadium sits right along the lake there, and Thursday night it's looking like there could be rain and snow, winds from 15 to 25 miles an hour, and that 15-mile-an-hour sort of threshold is what I look for in terms of when wind is going to start impacting things. And I think the weather is going to have a direct impact on which side bettors like for this, because the way that Pittsburgh plays, they like to air it out. Or not necessarily air it out, but Russell Wilson's got those nice teardrop throws, throwing it deep down the field, and bad weather is not conducive to that style of play. And so if we're expecting this to be a lower scoring game where the Pittsburgh offense is impacted more by the weather, then I think there could be some more movement towards Cleveland. Now, crossing the 3 is probably unlikely at this point, but again, I do think there will be a little bit more public favoring for Cleveland if this weather does hold up.
All right, let's get to the next game here, number 2, and we're talking about lines that might shift a little bit in the days to come. The New York Football Giants have made a change at quarterback. My paisan, Tommy DeVito, is back. Signs that the tank is full on now for the highest draft pick you could possibly get. They are taking on the Buccaneers, so that is a pass defense that Andrew and I talked about on yesterday's show. If you missed it, go back and watch and listen. But Sam, any quarterback, any offense right now, receiving wise, I want to get into the prop market when it comes to the Tampa Bay the Tampa Bay Buccaneers here, because they've been so bad this year. But can Tommy DeVito support Malik Neighbors and Wan'Dale Robinson and everything they've got going on, despite the fact that, the Giants are another team that seems to be going in a terrible direction. So the Tampa secondary, not only bad, but also some health issues. So how does that all factor into where this line might move? Because currently right now I see it sitting at 5. You're finding it at 5.5 in some spots here where Tampa is favored on the road. And then the number is hovering somewhere between 41.5 and 42.
Yeah, we got a Tommy Cutlets
Hey,
back
how you
in
doing?
action this week. A bit of a shock, I think, that they went with him over Drew Lock, but they also did mention that Drew Lock is going to be the backup for this game and not Daniel Jones. Not that has a huge impact, but this line moved about 1.5 in favor of Tampa Bay with the news of New York benching Daniel Jones. And Daniel Jones has been bad this year. I mean, that's no secret, but I don't think he's been the worst quarterback in the league by any means. And I think offers a slight floor that Tommy DeVito probably doesn't. But you mentioned the Tampa Bay secondary and their passing defense. They actually look like they might be getting a little healthy. It sounds like Jamel Dean was designated to return to practice off of injured reserve, so he could be back. Zion McCollum, who left the San Francisco game prior to their bye early, it sounds like his hamstring injury is not expected to be serious, so hopefully they get him playing as well. I've mentioned several times on this show, there is a phenomenon where backup quarterbacks playing take a little bit more money because the market tends to overreact a little bit to that news. But I think that's more typical in injury replacement type scenarios where the quarterback goes down on Sunday, then the line opens knowing that that quarterback is not going to play, and then that backup quarterback team gets bet on. So I don't think we see that same phenomenon here with Tommy Cutlets and the Giants here. I would expect this to probably be no more than or at least Bucks by 4.5 by the time the game happens.
All right, one more game to discuss here in talks of line movement potentially, and that's the 49ers heading to Green Bay, coming off a terrible loss. They are now 5-5. The Packers are 7-3. The number for this game is 47.5 to 48.5. You're finding it in some different spots there. You're finding San Francisco plus 2.5 in some spots. Like right now, it seems to be moving constantly, this game. I have a take on this game, and I'm curious what your thoughts are. To me, this is like the classic game where you saw the 49ers fall short against the Seattle Seahawks. It's doom and gloom, and everything's going to be terrible. And then they go on the road and they beat the Packers. Now, I know you're a Packers fan, so I don't want to offend you here on the program, but it does kind of feel like that is the path, especially when you look back at last year's Eagles. It's the same struggle where, the games where you think they're going to win, they don't, and then games where they maybe shouldn't, they do, and then they limp into the playoffs and they're gone in the first round. Like that kind of feels like where the 49ers are headed this season. I don't think they're done by any stretch. And let's be honest, the Packers got away with one last week. And I think this is a really interesting spot where everyone's taking on water here with the 49ers, but I don't think the ship is sinking quite yet. Your thoughts?
Yeah, let me start this off by sharing an emphatic "Go Pack Go" to all our
That's
Bears
fair.
fans
That's
listening.
Fair. All the cheesesteaks.
You mentioned that the 49ers had a terrible loss. The Packers had a terrible win, if there was one. I mean, they shouldn't have won that game. Realistically, the defense did not play well. Obviously, had 2 turnovers in the red zone against the Bears. So, by that standard, you possibly could have said that maybe they did deserve to win. But in any case, I think you're on the right track. Again, you're selling the Packers high and buying the 49ers low in this situation. Now, for me, it comes down to 2 key injuries for the 49ers as to whether I want to back them. First, it's George Kittle. He missed week 11 with a hamstring. He was limited in practice late in the week, was marked as questionable on Friday, went to doubtful on Sunday, and then didn't play. Sounds like they're expecting him to practice on Wednesday, so that's some good news in his favor. Nick Bosa, on the other hand, left the Seattle game with a hip injury. He only played the first half of the game. I haven't seen anything about his health status and whether it's going to be long term or not. But these are about the two biggest non-quarterback injuries that could happen to the San Francisco 49ers. I mean, George Kittle has been possibly their best offensive weapon so far this year. And Nick Bosa was in the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year. So I want to wait until we get news on their health before backing the 49ers. Again, I do lean with you that I think the 49ers might be the right play given that scenario.
Yeah, I feel like it really is. And again, make sure you set the line alerts, the custom line alerts on your BP app. If you haven't already, download the app, sync your sportsbooks for free, and set the line alerts for this one, because I want to see how the public continues to look ahead. But right now, if I can get, and I've already bet on BettingPros, you can follow me on there at Joe Pisapia. Just put it in the search tab there. I'm on the 49ers at plus 2.5. I think it's really good, getting minus 105 on that. I like it. I like it a lot. I feel like that's where we're going. Also on the BP app, besides the line alerts, don't forget too about the betting systems tool. Our new BettingPros systems tool is designed to help you find winning ways and strategies to make smarter bets. You can customize your betting systems by sport, bet type, and time frame to find the best opportunities using real-time data and expert analysis. So track the performance of different betting systems over time and optimize your bets to increase your chances of success. Download the BettingPros app today, wherever you get your apps, and elevate your betting strategies to make your bets more profitable every single day. Bet smarter, not harder. Okay, let's talk about the futures market, because there's been a big shift. We had Josh Allen defeat Patrick Mahomes. We had Lamar Jackson lose to the Pittsburgh Steelers. So another one here where now the division is in a bit of peril. We could certainly agree on that. And now we're looking ahead too for some movement, because we're also seeing, Jalen Hurts, we talked about at 20-1. That's kind of interesting. He's been moving up the board. So all of a sudden the MVP race is getting a little tighter. At the top, we have Lamar at plus 200. You have Josh Allen at plus 125. They're the top of the board. Then you got Jared Goff after another stunning blowout by the Lions last week. He's moved into that conversation. He's leapfrogged Mahomes. He is at plus 800. Mahomes plus 1,200. Jalen Hurts now is at plus 17. Some books plus 1,600 from what I've seen. Justin Herbert kind of getting some love here. But this has been now a race that's getting whittled down a little bit. Do you think Josh Allen should be at the top of it the way you see this? Is he willing this Buffalo Bills team, or is he really just a product of the fact this division's not really good and they've caught some teams maybe at the right time?
Yeah, I was taking a look at the market this morning, and I do think it is pretty well priced out. I mean, I think that this is Josh Allen's award to lose at this point. And I say that for a couple of reasons. One, again, the Bills are 8-2. They're not 8-2 without him, obviously.
Right.
They took down the big bad giant in the Kansas City Chiefs, and they head into their bye this week, but they have a legit shot at the number one seed in the AFC right now, which would be a huge mark on the resume of Josh Allen this year. And I think, I know I've mentioned this previously on the show, if it comes down to Allen and Jackson, I think the voters lean more towards Allen as, sort of
I agree.
A legacy type vote sort of thing. I mean, Jackson won it last year, and
right? Don't you feel like
yes.
there's fatigue? That you get these windows where it's like, oh, okay, it's the Tom Brady, Peyton Manning era, and then we move on to find somebody else. And you see guys win like 2 in a row or 2 out of the 3 years, and then win another one, and then they kind of get bored with that person and move somewhere else. It does feel like that's maybe what's happening in the market. I've got Josh Allen at a much higher number, so I'm loving the fact that he's at number 1. I have a question for you though. If Josh Allen doesn't get the 1 seed, let's say Jared Goff and the Detroit Lions end up with the best record, is it fair to start giving him a little bit of credit? Like, if the Lions are the best team in the NFL, quote unquote, which again, I'm still skeptical that they are. I think they're the best team in the NFC. I've thought that going into the season. I think it passed the midway point. But when do we start giving Jared Goff some credit?
That's the one I'm struggling with the most. Because again, I think there's there's a subset of people who are going to give credit to Ben Johnson and the offensive scheme that they've had. The Lions defense has also played extremely well this season, and the two running backs are running extremely well, which again is not on Jared Goff. People will point to the 5 interception game that Goff had back on was it Monday or Sunday Night Football.
Yeah.
But the reason why I think Goff has a legit shot is he plays 3 more standalone games this season. He's got the Bears on Thanksgiving next week. He's got the Packers in prime time the week after. This isn't a standalone game, but they play the Bills in the late afternoon the week after that. So if the Lions beat the Bills, again, this could be one of those, how can you give it to Josh Allen when Jared Goff beat him? And then in week 17, they play the San Francisco 49ers. And so there are going to be a lot of eyes on Jared Goff. Now, it could go one of several different ways. It could go the way that it went against the Texans, but if this offense continues to play as well as they have, I think it's going to be difficult, again, if the Lions end up 15-2 for him to be out of the conversation. Obviously, I think Goff is certainly the leader in the clubhouse. I mean, you mentioned the odds in the NFC to be sort of the NFC favorite for the award. So I think this market is really well priced right now. I don't see a ton of value anywhere. I don't like betting on Herbert right now. Like
No, I don't either. It's
he's
a good story,
playing
but
great football, but
right.
That defense is also carrying them quite a bit as well.
What about the rookie of the year market too? Because we've seen now all of a sudden Jaden Daniels, 2 losses in a row. It's still very heavy in the minus. And I think, it's still his to lose. But if they do unravel a little bit here in the second half, Bo Nix is at plus 400 now. He has leapfrogged Marvin Harrison, Caleb Williams. They're all distant memories. Brock Bowers is interesting at plus 2,100 too, but probably not going to win this award. It does typically go to quarterbacks. We know this. So Bo Nix at plus 400. Interesting because his schedule, Vegas, Cleveland, then the bye, Indy, Chargers, Cincinnati, Kansas City. There's 4 more wins there, I think, potentially. And if so, they become a 10-win team. Can Bo Nix actually kind of make his case here towards this stretch run? Or do you think it's still just, that's foolish, it's still Jaden Daniels, and he's been the guy that's taken over? Because Jaden Daniels last 2 weeks, obviously, things haven't gone his way in terms of victories.
Yeah, and I don't think, with rookie of the year markets being on a winning team is necessarily a prerequisite for winning that award, much like it is for the MVP. And so if you think about what it'll take for Bo Nix to win this award, it's probably a Jaden Daniels injury. I mean, if Daniels doesn't get hurt within the next 2 weeks, they head into their week 14 bye. Again, they've got a pretty easy schedule down the stretch as well. And so I just don't know if Bo Nix is really going to be able to play up enough to overtake him outright, just like by merit and stats and all that sort of stuff. Again, the Denver defense is going to get a lot of credit for the way that Denver has won this year. So I think this is truly Jaden Daniels' award to lose. If he gets hurt and is out for the final 4 weeks, then I think that is the best way to open up the door for Bo Nix.
Well, speaking of the Washington Commanders and Jaden Daniels, let's transition right into the stats of the week that are going to matter the most, because if ever there was a time for the Commanders to get an opponent like the Dallas Cowboys, this is it. You're coming off 2 straight losses. Cowboys obviously reeling. What a stupid thing Mike McCarthy said yesterday too about how we deserve to win. We prepare like we deserve to win. Really? Well, then maybe the preparation's no good. I don't know. But Sam, let's talk about it here, because maybe 6-8 weeks ago this was a looming loss here theoretically for the Washington Commanders. Now it feels like anything but. It feels like a get right game to me.
Yeah, so I'm going to make full case for the Commanders team total over 27.5 minus 114 on FanDuel right now. If we look at the Commanders offense and how they're playing with pace, They are currently fourth in neutral script seconds per play. They are first in no huddle rate. Their offensive efficiency has obviously dipped a little bit in the past couple weeks, but they're still sixth in early down success rate. So they should be able to sustain drives, especially against this Cowboys defense. I mean, the Texans offense on Monday night didn't look great at all, yet they still breezed to 34 points. And then the Cowboys offense has gotten a little bit slower with Cooper Rush under center, but that the offense is not good either. So if they're playing a little quicker and are going 3-and-out quickly, then that could add a couple more possessions to Washington to, again, give them more opportunities to score.
All right, let's get to another one too that's got 4 outcomes written all over it. I find it very hard to invest in Arizona, Seattle. The number is 47.5 on the total. It's, practically a pick 'em here. You got Arizona with plus 1.5 in some spots. You got Seattle at plus 1 in some other spots. So I have a hard time figuring this one out, the identity of these teams. Arizona's coming off the bye. In theory, I would like to favor them, but Seattle is coming off a very big emotional win. So, Sam, how do you look at this one? Because this is one of the tougher games, I think, on the Week 12 slate.
It is tough to handicap right now, and this is a massive divisional game. I mean, if the Cardinals win, they're 7-4, and the 49ers lose, they're 2 games up on the NFC West division race. But if the Seahawks win, then they're right back in it to win that division. But I do think Arizona's biggest advantage is in the rushing game. James Conner this year has played way better than myself and I think many others expected. And the rushing defense for Seattle has been one of their weaknesses. But on the Arizona side, they're 8th in rushing success rate. They're 2nd in explosive rush rate, while again, Seattle's defense is bottom 8 in both rushing EPA per play and success rate allowed. I do think if Seattle wants a chance to win this game, they need to get back to throwing the ball more. They've been running a little bit more the past couple weeks. I don't know if that's just because DK Metcalf has been out for several weeks, but the Seattle passing attack is still 3rd in explosive pass rate. They just need to get the ball out quickly on some short passes, let the receivers that they have win after the catch, and hopefully stay competitive that way. Because again, the rushing game, Kenneth Walker hasn't been that successful the last couple of weeks. So if I were to give a lean, I think I lean slightly towards the Cardinals, and I think I would potentially play it on the alt lines with some, James Conner rushing alts baked in, because the thesis being, if they get out to a lead, I think they're going to be able to build on that lead, have success continuing to run the ball, and just sort of put away the Seahawks.
All right, last one here for Week 12 before you get to Survivor Pool picks. If you're still alive in those, the Eagles defense has played really well over the last month. Something I talked about on Out of Bounds yesterday on the FP feed, something I've been talking about just on every show the last couple weeks. And it seems like Fangio's really figured things out with this crew. And it was a very green group. A lot of turnover, a lot of youth. I know most of them coming out of Georgia, but still, it seems like they're starting to figure it out. That's why I kind of like the Jalen Hurts rising to the MVP discussion. I don't think he's out of the realm of possibility either, depending on how things go towards these stretch run. But when you're looking at the Eagles this specific week here, they've been rolling. Hurts has been a touchdown machine. So when you're looking at the odds for this game, how's that defense enter into it for you in terms of how you want to wager on it?
Yeah, I was skeptical of the Eagles' defensive improvement. I thought it was more a function of their schedule and the teams that they were facing. Obviously, their performance against the Bengals, who are a top 5 offense, was sort of the lone impressive game that I saw from them, but the rest were, again, a bit unimpressive. But Thursday night really turned me into a believer. Right now on the season, Philly ranks 5th in EPA per play allowed, 3rd in success rate, 3rd in explosive play rate allowed. They are only 25th in pressure rate, but they're 10th in sack rate. And, ultimately, I think this comes down to the production matching the talent that they have on defense. I mean, Quinion Mitchell is a stud. He should be in the conversation for Defensive Rookie of the Year. Cooper DeJean has played extremely well. Zach Bond is currently the 4th highest graded linebacker on PFF. Jalen Carter is turning into the game record that we thought he'd be, and he's making his making his presence known as a pass rusher, not just in the run game. So I think, in the offseason, a lot of people talked about how the Fangio defensive system takes some time to implement, for players to get used to how it works and all that sort of stuff. And I think we're starting to see the returns of that come in. And so, I think that the Rams present a difficult opportunity, but I do think that the Eagles defense has the advantage in that matchup.
I do too. I think we're going to end up somehow eventually with the Eagles and Lions. Like, that's the game that I think we all want to see when we get to the NFC playoffs. All right, before we get out of here, it's time for Survivor Pool picks. And Sam, we got a little bit of business to do afterwards, but who is going to survive and advance in Week 12 in the NFL with a W?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Washington Commanders in this spot. I talked about how much I like their offense. They are also facing a Cowboys team that are in the Widowmaker spot right now, coming off Monday Night Football, and the Commanders having extra rest, having played on Thursday Night Football. That there's a chance that Washington gets Marshawn Lattimore in on their defense for the first time this season, and the Cowboys are starting Cooper Rush. So that should be all you need to know.
All right, one more bit of business to do. It's a bittersweet moment for us here at Betting Pros. This is going to be Sam's last show with us. Unfortunately for us, but fortunately for him, a great opportunity has presented itself in the sports betting space that he just could not say no to. Clearly, Tommy DeVito and Sam Hoppen have the same agent. They make those kind of offers. But Sam, what you've been able to give us here at bettingpros.com and on the podcast, your knowledge, your insights, the betting models, all the data analysis you've been able to do has really helped not only the growth of Betting Pros, it's helped all the people who subscribe to the channels, all the people who read the articles and go through everything. And you've really helped grow this Betting Pros product. So on behalf of all of us here on the Fantasy Pros, Betting Pros side of things, we just want to thank you for doing what you've done and working so hard over the last 2 years. And also, we're gonna miss you, buddy, but we're all excited for this opportunity. Again, it's a great one for you, so hopefully it will lead to more good things down the road for you and continued success in what's going to be a very bright career in the crazy mad scientist laboratory. So we're gonna miss you, my friend. Any final thoughts before the show closes?
Yeah, just a big thanks to you, the Fantasy Pros and Betting Pros family, all of the subscribers and listeners. It's been a joy to be able to talk betting and talk football with you guys each and every week the past couple of years. And looking forward to the next step, but certainly is a bittersweet ending right now.
It is. You'll be missed, but we're all very excited for this. This is a great opportunity for you. And don't worry, we're not going anywhere. All the Betting Pro shows are still going to be rocking and rolling here, but we will miss Sam Hoppen, that's for sure, especially on the team trips, because Sam is a fun guy on the team trips. That'll do it for us, but the story of the game, it goes on. For Sam Hoppen, I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids.